Good afternoon or good evening. I call this board workshop to order. We have Dr. Rivera. You present, Dr. Rivera?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And Coach Cuellar?
I'm here.
And myself, Mr. Nieto. Anybody else that's present yet? All right. Under public comments, we have none. Item number 4, Dr. Canales, 2021 budget.
I'm on mute. Good evening, everybody. Today, we do have Mr. Andres Sanchez and his team have been working hard with all of us on the budget for the 2020-2021 school year. This year, with the pandemic that we're currently experiencing, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to project exactly what's going to happen in terms of the number of students that we get, the number of people who pay taxes. So Mr. Sanchez and his team, Mr. Sanchez, thank you to you and your team and working with all of Cabinet to prepare for today's workshop. And so he will begin with the presentation. We do have some slides that Mr. Carlos Martinez will be displaying. And I believe Mr. Lopez joined us. Hi, Mr. Lopez. Okay, Mr. Sanchez.
Okay. Next page, please. Thank you. On slide 2, I have a table that shows budgeted ADA for the prior years. We have budgeted for this year. I'll make a note on that 2019-2020, the fiscal year that is ending, we had a budgeted ADA of 15,751. The actual ADA that we have, including the SASI program, the Flex ADA, is a total of 15,891. And we're still waiting to get confirmation from TA on the print report that we submitted. But right now, it looks at 15,891, which is 188 higher than how we budgeted. For the next year, we're budgeting only 15,199. That represents 96.5% of how we budgeted last year, or could be about 100% of the regular ADA from last year. What we budgeted was regular in SASI program, but the regular ADA was 15,093, and we're budgeting 15,199. The reason we're like this, because right now we don't know how many students are going to enroll. We have more than 13,000 students enrolled right now with a new online registration system. But after we get all the students enrolled, then we have to go through the membership process to see which of those students, how the students generate ADA. For example, pre-K students, only half of them generate ADA. And after that is the actual attendance. So once we have we'll have better numbers. But right now, we're going with 15,199 at the budget. I had mentioned before that the schools, we have given them 90% of the ADA allocation they had received the prior year. And each ADA that they got was $120 for elementary schools, $135 for middle schools, and $200 for middle schools.
For high school.
That?
Just a clarification, $200 for high schools.
Yes. No questions? Next. Okay, thank you. We received certified property values from the appraisal district. They were issued July 17. We didn't find out till the following week, but once we got them, we were able to ascertain that the values came up to $2,615,319,000 compared to the prior year of $2,415,149,000. It increased by $200 million in property value with what they had. And that represents 8.3% increase over the prior year. I had mentioned about the ADA of being budgeted at 96.5 for the prior year. The gifted and talented applies to Alumni Budgets, which are also local budgets. Can you hear me well? Can you hear me? I hear a lot of static here. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, Andres.
Okay. The gifted and talented and high school Alumni Budgets are also budgeted through local funds. We're budgeted at 90% of the last year's budget. The state Alumni funds were budgeted at 94%. The CTE, special ed, bilingual ed, early education, and dyslexia. And the state comp, that one was budgeted at 94% of the geographical student counts that were provided by TEA for the 2019-2020 year. That is the same information I had mentioned before. Nothing has changed there. Any questions?
Question, Andres, on that 8.3% over last year's property values, how does that help Weslaco ISD?
Well, it doesn't. That was going to be my next comment, because I had mentioned before that the state, when they approved House Bill 3 and prior legislature, they also approved, I believe, Senate Bill 2. That's the one that was helping taxpayers to reduce the taxes they paid, and it was going to put a cap on the increases of the appraisal values from the appraisal values, because it was 8.3. Our tax rate, our compressed tax rate, was reduced from 103.51 that it would have been if nothing changed to 0.9989%. We're about at almost $1. It was going to be $1.03.50. Before we knew the values were that high, we thought it was going to be $1.03.50. But because of the increase, went down to 0.9989. That is something that it was when the legislature they approved it like that. That's what I had mentioned, that TEA was calculating the maximum compressed tax rates. So we had to do a tax survey. When we entered the information with our certified values from the prior year and this year, the TEA formula gave us the amount, and we had already figured it out, but they confirmed it. So our new rate is 99.89. So we won't be able to get more tax revenues. That's what it could appear, because we had bigger values as approved. And I'll explain that in the next slide.
Okay. Dr. Rivera, any comments on this proposed budget for right now?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Carlos, please. Thank you. As I mentioned, the ADA has 552 less ADA budgeted than last year. At $7,100 that we generate for each ADA, that's about $3.9 million less revenue from the state for ADA. In the past, we used to use $7,500 as a figure for each ADA, but in the last template that we received showed that it's $7,118. So I'm using $7,100 as a round number for each ADA. So our budget, like I said, is less than last year. It's about $3.9 million less budget like that. The property tax revenue, we revised our current levy estimate for collections. I had mentioned the prior workshop that we had 85% only budgeted because I didn't know, and we were wondering about the economic conditions of the pandemic and things like that. And I'm checking with all the school districts in the valley. Everybody did a 2% decrease only, or not much of that deduction on the collection for the budget. So based on what we have for the current year that we're ending, we budgeted 92%, and we're collecting already at 94%, and we expect it to be within no more than 95%. In prior year, we budgeted 91%. So we increased the budget from 85 to 91% in the collection. We could get more, I don't know, but we did 91%. We might not have that much more of a cushion like we usually have. When we shorten ADA, the property tax collections excess make up for it, but this time we might not have it. But we did raise our budget from 85% to 91%. And that was one of the things we did to help balance the deficit that we had. On the prior year property tax revenues, those we left it budgeted at 10%. Last year was 20, This time we put it at 10%, so that one we left it at 10%. We didn't change it. Athletic event revenue budgeted at 15%, and it might be even less, depending on what UIL decides to do. Interest income is budgeted at about 1/4 of what we had for last year because of the interest rates that are very low right now. Any questions?
Dr. Rivera, or any
No.
questions? How about Coach Cuellar?
No,
How about Mr. Lopez?
I have none.
Okay, go ahead, Andres, continue.
Okay, thank you. On slide 5, I mentioned that the M&O compressed tax rate as confirmed by TEA is 0.9989, almost $1 for $100 of taxable property valuation. It is about almost 5 pennies less than last year's. It used to be 104.87. The INS tax rate, we will leave it at 2%. At 2 pennies, not 2%. And I have a table where I show the tax rate for the 2018-19 year. It was a total of 1.15, almost 1.16. The current year is at almost 105 for M&O, the 2 pennies for INS, which is almost 107. And for next year, it's almost at $1 for M&O, 2 pennies for INS, and almost 102 for the total tax rate. The M&O compressed tax rate is lower, like I mentioned before, because of the increase in property values. Any questions?
Dr. Rivera, will that affect us on lowering the tax rate there?
I think it's good the way he has it.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, Andres, continue.
Yes, on the risk management department, we had confirmed with Mr. De La Rosa, and he had mentioned it himself last time as well. On the health insurance, we're not anticipating any increases, and we're not budgeting any increases or increases in the contribution, either from the district or from employees to the health plan, which is the one that is self-funded. The dental is fully funded, so we don't have to contribute specific amount to that one. So we're keeping the same amounts. We're not increasing anything on that one. Next. Thank you. The budget, as I mentioned, well, after we make some adjustments with the property taxes and some adjustment that we did with the values from provided by the appraisal district, we still had a deficit of $1,956,000. So to balance to offset the deficit, well, one of the things we did in discussion with Dr. Canales and the rest of the cabinet, and then sharing with the principals, we took out 28 teacher vacancies from the budget that right now they are included in the budget because we set up the budget based on teachers that were there last year. So the vacancies are there right now, but we're going to have to deduct them. And what we're going to do, those vacancies that we have will be filled in from within, from the district. So we will not hire anybody additional for those vacancies. So that we will cut $1,778,000 from the budget that we had set up.
And Andres, I'm assuming that a lot of those 28 teacher vacancies were teachers that retired?
Yes, retire or resign at the end of the year. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
And then the remaining amount that we have to offset the deficit is $178,138. And that one we deducted from the substitute teacher salaries. We budget currently $2,076,000. So we took the money from there. The current budget, with those adjustments that we do there, gets balanced. But it does not include any budget for COVID-19 expenditures for next year. We're still working on the numbers. I did not check with Coach Rojas this afternoon to see if they were able to get all the figures. So whatever we need for that, if we're not able to figure it out from other accounts, we will have to take it from fund balance next year. Any questions on that?
Andres, very, very good plan to reduce the $2 million on what you have done.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Dr. Canales and Ms. Segura and the rest of the cabinet, Ms. Peterson and Mr. Aguilar work with the cabinets on working on what, making some movements, the teachers, to use teachers that we have already in the district in the vacancies. So the credit goes to them.
Well, to you too.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions from Mr. Lopez or Coach Cuellar? Nope.
No.
Okay. Nothing. All right.
Carlos?
So Andres, you said
Yes, sir.
those cuts and we'll balance, we'll have a balanced budget?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I didn't have a page to add to the budget, but the revenue that we have budgeted right now in the general fund, that goes all the way from food service through the state funds, all the way to local maintenance, is $175,976,721. The prior year budget was $183,844,000. So it is about $7.8 million less than last year.
Can you all hear me?
Yes,
I know that you worked very hard on this budget and you've done a good job, and it shows. I mean, you're balancing it. I mean, that's a lot of businesses and companies are right now are in a lot of trouble because I mean, there's just not enough money to take care of everything and take care of the employees and take care of all our bills. Good job on staying on top of it. And I know that this is a very fluid situation. You know, changing things are going to come up and emergencies and other things that are unforeseen. Yet I know that the team that we have in place is ready. I mean, we proved that during the hurricane of I don't forget when it was. I know we had one again this year, and we will be ready for the future. And WISD will continue to be on top. So Andres and Dr. Canales, your team, all of you guys are doing a great job. And taking care of the money, of course, is one of the biggest things. But taking care of employees and our teachers and all our staff is utmost. Dr. Canales, question for you. As far as safety supplies going to the schools for our teachers, who is covering that?
Oscar Riojas is helping to lead, making sure we have the supplies that we need. The PPEs or the personal protective equipment is in from the state, so we have that in as well. Mr. Riojas and his team would have a presentation not only on the products that we're using for sanitation, they're training the custodians in the next week or two on that as well. Mr. De La Rosa and Mr. Garcia are ready if and when the time comes when it's back on campus, have the training set already for the bus drivers, have trained them on cleaning the bus seats and the buses in between routes. So that's what we have in place right now, Mr. Lopez, for sanitation. I know that our principals today during the meeting talked about the need for maybe some additional stations at certain entrances and exits since we have some people working from campus. So it's just a teamwork effort, but the person leading the effort is Oscar Riojas.
Okay. Well, as in any emergency situation or as any time like what we're going through right now with Dr. Canales, information is the most important thing that everybody is starving for and needs to get to them. So, and I know that now we have, or we've always had the means to get that information out to our employees, staff, and parents. So just make sure that keeps going out and that you understand and you know, and I know you know this, that the board is ready to act within the quickest time possible if you have any decisions that need to be made.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez, for that. And we do have several layers of information that will be going out as we get closer to more staff coming on board, as we get closer to the end of September, when the 4 weeks of remote learning may be ending. So, and Carlos Robledo and his team have been working great with all cabinet and all directors to make sure we send out information. We're trying to layer it and do it in phases, so we don't send everything out in once. Although we do have a plan in place for all in one package, here's all of it that will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. We do know it's important to be purposefully redundant with the information we send out, to send it out in phases and to resend it and to talk about it so that we can keep everybody safe. So Mr. Lopez, thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Canales.
Carlos, next, please. Okay. The current budget does not reflect any pay raises still. We were not able to come up with something right now or any compensation incentives. However, we would like to recommend to the board, and we'll provide more information at a later meeting, a one-time stipend payment to staff in lieu of a pay raise for the 2021 fiscal year. We haven't decided the amount yet, but whatever amount we come up with, we need to emphasize that the payment will be contingent on the district generating additional ADA, that's what we budgeted, and or additional property tax revenues collected, because those are the two leaders of the revenue for the district, at least for the local funds. If we get that, we'll have money to pay them. Last time that we come up with something similar, we had some conditions on it like that it was the district-wide conditions first, and then if that happens, some additional conditions for the campuses to get an extra amount. Last time the campuses did their part, but we were not able to get the ADA for the whole district. So even though the schools work hard, we couldn't pay them the stipend. So we're working on that, and we'll announce it to the board what the amount would be. This type of stipend will probably not be eligible for TRS compensation, because teachers will not earn it unless the money is generated. We contacted TRS to ask them, and the person that asked us, if a teacher retires in December, would they earn half of the stipend? And my answer to that is no, because what if we don't get the money? If we don't get it, we're not going to pay it. So it's not something that they are going to be earning as the year goes through. Therefore, it will not be eligible for TRS. That's what I think. We need to confirm with them if that is the case, and we will inform it to the board.
And Dr. Canales, and of course, Andres, I think it's important because teachers and staff members have really worked hard this summer preparing for the new year, and a lot of times they been logging on when they're not working, and trying to become better teachers for this coming year. So it's important that, yes, if we don't give a raise, but we give some sort of stipend, it'll be beneficial for them, because actually a lot of the teachers, a lot of the staff members have worked extended hours because it's difficult to work just your regular 8 hours when parents call you at 4 o'clock, 4:30, at 5 o'clock, at 6, and even central office administration meeting when they were off, to prepare. I think it's very important. So anyway, hopefully we can work something out. Dr. Rivera, any comments on this particular compensation?
No, it's a good plan, but if you can look also at the stipend, maybe give 2 stipends, one in August and one in December for Christmas.
Yes, sir. Very. Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, the one in Christmas will be harder because since it's based on ADA, and the ADA we have to use it the whole year, not just a couple of 6 weeks. It will be a hard one to do.
I agree with Mr. Nieto on trying to get our employees whatever we can to help them out. These times are very hard, and there's so many unknowns as we move forward, and hardships with people and family being sick, and we have to do everything we can, and yet being that we have we do have to bring out that the checkbook the bucket only has so much money, as Dr. Canales used to say.
Right.
And hopefully we can do something, but the good thing is that we will all continue to work hard and keep the jobs and just work for our kids and our staff, and we'll do the best that we can. There's no doubt about it for our employees.
Okay, Coach Cuerra?
No, I agree with everything you said, Mr. Nieto, because it's important to acknowledge the fact that teachers have gone above and beyond, and I know that there are many that go out there and make personal expenses to be better prepared to take care of their students and to stay on top of what we need to do to ensure that our students are getting the education that they need, you know, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all, but with everybody working together and staying on top of what needs to be done and staying proactive and positive and just keep doing what we're doing. You know, I'm very proud to say that everyone has been doing a heck of a job, and I don't think that we can ask for more. And just, you know, hey, treat it like there's no tomorrow. We just got to keep getting after it, and like Mr. Lopez said, you know, we're here to do what we have to do and find a way.
Andres, my point is to give two bonuses if you can, one in August and one in December, because the enrollment that you have could possibly be higher in your ADA too. I'm not saying you're going to promise something, but if the ADA is higher, the enrollment higher, you can do it. That's the point that I was trying to make.
Yes, I understand. Yes.
Good points, Dr. Rivera. Dr. Jaime, any comments?
I know, just, you know, I know if you know, if there's any stipends that can be found, you know, I think that Andres, you know, I think you're the person who can find those funds and that money there. So, you know, I trust in you and you know, trying to find whatever we can do for our employees, you know, because like everybody said here, you know, they're definitely well deserved of any stipends that they should get and might come their way. But thank you for all the hard work with crunching the numbers. I know it's not easy during these times, a lot of different factors, but I think you're doing a great job with that, and just keep us posted. Let us know what we can do for our employees.
Well, yeah, the staff helped me a lot. Put all the numbers together.
Go ahead, Dr. Canales or Mr. Sanchez, continue.
Next, Carlos, please. This is an updated timeline for the approval of the budget. We're at August 10th. On Friday, we're going to advertise the notice of public hearing in the Monitor. That has to be published 10 days before the actual approval of the budget, the actual public hearing. So we've been in communication with the tax office, Hidalgo County Tax Office, on the information they need to generate the notice. I should be getting it sometime tomorrow. To review it, we'll send it to the newspaper on Wednesday to publish on Friday. And I listed here on August 17, a tentative budget workshop. If we have information to provide to the board, one would be the amount of the stipend to be provided. If we don't have that meeting, then the next meeting will be the actual board meeting. We could provide information to the board through the update of the amount, and you'll feel comfortable with it, or we can get is a consensus on it to take it to the board. Unless you want to have the meeting on the 17th, if we have the information, so we can let you know later on, in a couple of days later on this week about it. And then the next time will be the 24th, the public hearing at 5:30, and then the meeting at 6 to approve both the budget and the tax rate.
Okay. I think, Dr. Rivera, what do you recommend there?
I think it's a good plan. But if nothing new on the 17th, don't have the workshop.
Right. Yes.
Correct. Okay, continue, Andres.
That's it. That's the last page.
All right. This concludes our workshop. Any other questions? All right, we'll sign off and then log on to the regular board meeting. We don't have to sign off. We just continue. All right. So, no public comments? Okay. All right, so we will continue. Are we ready, board members? Okay, so we just elect Patrick, right? All right, I call this meeting to order. Good evening, I'm Isidoro Nieto, Board President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. On March 16, 2020, Governor Abbott granted a request by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend certain open meeting law requirements to the extent necessary to allow telephonic and video conference meetings in response to COVID-19. In accordance with the law, notice of this meeting of the Board of Weslaco Independent School District has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, there will be a quorum in attendance in this meeting by video conference or telephone call. The board is meeting by the use of Google Meets and telephone transmission, which allows two-way communication for members of the public during public comments. The live audio of this meeting is being broadcast live and online. As we would in any person meeting, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice for registering to speak during the public comment portion will be called at the telephone number they have provided to speak up for up to 5 minutes. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent possible. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. We apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate these conditions. The time is now 6:03, and I call this regular meeting to order. I will now call the name of each board member who will acknowledge their presence by saying here. Mr. Erasmo Lopez.
I'm here.
Dr. Richard Rivera.
Here.
Is Mr. Patrick Kennedy here yet? I don't think so. Okay. Dr. Jaime Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Andrew Gonzalez.
Here.
And Coach Armando Cuellar.
Here.
And the minutes shall reflect that I'm also here present. Let the record show that our quorum board members are in attendance. Opening prayer, Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, the opening prayer will be led by Mr. Elias Trevino, Assessment and Accountability Director. Mr. Trevino.
Thank you. Would you all be so kind to bow your heads and let's pray. Father, we come before your mighty throne of glory. We honor and thank you, Lord, for your goodness. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your everlasting kindness. We thank you for your blessings, Lord God, that go beyond measure. Thank you for our board. Thank you for our superintendents whose heart is 100%, Lord God, in serving students. Thank you for the leadership that are people of integrity. Thank you, Lord God, for our teachers who we believe will help our students in the midst of this pandemic this year. They will reach great heights because of these amazing teachers. Give us wisdom, God, to navigate through these uncertain days. Give us peace in all decisions we make. Give us clarity of mind to find solutions for our students and staff. Lord, there may be much confusion all around us, but we are trusting in you, that your faithfulness is everlasting, and you will always, always provide. We ask you, Lord God, for peace and consolation in the Lopez family. Thank you for having blessed the Lopez family, with 90 years of joy and love through the life of their mother. Your love, Lord God, is so evident in the hearts of our mothers. Thank you for being so good to us and this community of Weslaco. We are blessed, Lord God, to live and work here. May your name be glorified. May our daily work honor you. In Jesus' mighty name we ask all things. Amen.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Kennedy joined at 6:05. Item 4, Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, Dr. Samuel Garcia will lead us in the pledges. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. Canales. For the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Item 5, awards and recognitions. Dr. Canales.
Hey, Board of Trustees, we have several awards and recognitions. We're very proud of our students and our staff. Mr. Carlos Robledo will be leading the way for this. I do have the presentation, so let me present now.
Okay, good evening and good evening, board. Mr. Nieto, tonight we want to recognize several high school students who recently received academic recognition on the national level. The College Board's Advanced Placement Program recently recognized several of our students for their exceptional achievement on the AP exams. These students took part in the college level courses while still in high school to earn college credit, advanced placement, or both. A small percentage of the millions of students worldwide who took the AP exams performed at a sufficiently high level to earn an AP Scholar Award. AP Scholars competed or completed 3 or more AP exams with scores of 3 or higher in the subjects that include biology, chemistry, world history, and English literature. Let's start off recognizing our great students from Weslaco East and Weslaco High School, where our AP Scholars come from. We start off from Weslaco East High School. The AP Scholars are Victoria Guerrero, Silvestre Ramirez, Rene Tamez, Mateo Vallejo, who is also our salutatorian. Silvestre Ramirez was a valedictorian. And then we have Angie Escalon, who earned the AP Scholar with Honor Award. She had an average score of at least 3.25 on all AP exams taken and scored a 3 or higher on 4 or more exams. Congratulations to them. On our next slide, we'd like to recognize students from Weslaco High School. From Weslaco High School, the AP Scholars are Emma Arndt, Antonia Borjas, Lauren Buttermer, Jared Castillo, Emily Cortez, Daylin De Leon, Ashley Garcia, Veronica Garcia, Kayla Martinez, Raquel Moreno, Melanie Munoz, Melanie Nájera, Melissa Pedraza, Brian Peña. Next slide. We have Gerardo Perez, Ryan Perez, Aaron Puente, Kaylee Renteria, Ryan Rivera, Lauren Trevino, Emily Van Tilburg. Students who earned AP Scholars with Honor are, next slide please, Andrea Aranda and Aaron Castillo. Also, several students earned AP Scholar Distinction Award. They had an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken and scored a 3 or higher on 5 or more exams. These students are Joseph Cardona, Mia Cavazos, Daniela Maldonado, Zuliel Martez, and Joshua Rodriguez. Joshua also earned National AP Scholar Award. This award is granted to students in the United States who received an average score of at least 4 on all AP exams taken and a score of 4 or higher on 8 or more of these exams. A special congratulations to Joshua. The last time WISD recognized a National AP Scholar was in 2016. He is also the 2020 valedictorian of Weslaco High School. Congratulations to all our AP Scholars.
Dr. Canales, I just want to, I just had Josh kind of sitting here with me just for this, and I just want to thank you all for recognizing the students and, great students, great work, and, appreciate the recognition that they're getting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Joshua, congratulations. Make Weslaco proud and make your parents, continue to make your parents proud. That's quite an honor, being a AP Scholar with distinction and a National AP Scholar. Tremendous effort. And so I know you have a bright future ahead of you. Congratulations to all the parents and students and teachers that assisted those students to receive those scores that they received. So congratulations again. But Dr. Jaime, you and your wife, and again, congratulations to Josh.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We're proud of everybody.
Appreciate it.
You want to say something, Josh? You're right there in front of the camera.
Easy.
No pressure, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, I've been working for a few years, and I really thought I should have got it last year, but I ended up getting it my senior year. So thank you to all the teachers who helped me get here, and appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Josh.
We'll
Good job.
continue on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Nieto?
Go ahead and continue. Do we have
Yes.
any other awards?
Let me go ahead and move on. Let's see.
We'll move on now. Tonight, we want to congratulate 2 members of the Weslaco ISD Future Farmers of America program who successfully competed at the 92nd Texas FFA State Convention. Representing Weslaco High School FFA chapter, senior Andrea Martinez won 6th place out of 21 in the final Texas FFA Spanish Creed speaking event. Andrea memorized and recited the FFA Creed in Spanish and then answered questions relating to the Creed itself and agriculture. Also, from Weslaco High School FFA chapter, freshman Lily Ford competed in the Soil Stewardship Prepared Public Speaking Contest, placing 9th out of 24. Lily prepared a 6 to 8 minute speech, which she pre-recorded and uploaded for a panel of judges to review. She also took part in a live question and answer session to test her knowledge of the subject, and all this was done via Zoom. To qualify for state, these young ladies advanced through one of 66 district competitions and finished as area winners or runners up. So we'd like to say congratulations to them and congratulations to their sponsors as well.
So congratulations, of course, to the parents and the students. And of course, there are awesome sponsors that work with them all year long. Correct, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, sir, Coach. Congratulations to these young ladies and kudos to their ag teachers because they do work a lot.
All right,
And
is that
the recognitions?
the end, Carlos?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay, we'll continue. Dr. Canales, unless you have any comments?
No, just, I don't know can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're very, very proud of our teachers, of our parents, of our students for just that can-do attitude. We continue to do great things in Weslaco ISD, and virtual, remote, or in person. That spirit of just moving forward exists. So just thank you to everybody, and Board of Trustees, thank you for recognizing our students and our staff at every single board meeting.
Dr. Canales, before we move on, I'd just like to ask a question. I know that we're recognizing them on this meeting, and they'll be seen again on the meeting if anybody goes to the board meeting, and I don't think too many people are going to be looking at the board meetings. But do we have another avenue to where we can promote our students that are getting awards so that they can be seen either through Facebook or some other means? And are we doing that, or will we do that?
Yeah, we have lots of avenues, and Mr. Robledo's there shaking his head. I know that we promote some of it through social media, through Facebook, and things like that. Mr. Robledo, do you want to add?
Yes, we still have a lot of wonderful things. You know, a lot of things took place over the summer. We recognized a couple of our outstanding students with different methods now, of course, being safe and practice social distancing. We still have our K-West crew and our public information department out there recognizing our students in many different ways on social media, through YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much.
And I think you probably have these AP scholars been recognized on social media, Mr. Carlos, or not yet?
That is probably going to be next to recognize them on social media, most definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda, public comments. We don't have any. No public comments today. Item number 7, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Canales.
Okay, Board of Trustees, we do have a quite lengthy report. I'm going to go through most of it, and if you have questions, staff is here. It's been a team effort, like it is every single year. So I may begin with the COVID-19, always begin with the number of cases, and this just shows the difference in the number of positive cases. Now, a reminder, some of these positive cases, the people that have had them have been released, but we were at 17,000, a little over 17,000 on August the 1st, and August the 10th, we're above about 19,500. So the number of people who are positively confirmed at some time, a lot of people have been released, continues to increase with the passage of time. We are focused on doing Board of Trustees. We have a wonderful vision and a mission. In addition to that, we have some district goals that we all believe in. They've been tweaked throughout the years, but it's still about student success with a literacy focus. It's still about engaging learning environments. It's still about professional growth and leadership development for all employees. It's about our parents in our community, in our business industries being partners, and it's also about financial strength. So we anchor everything we do on these goals along with our vision and our mission statement. The spirit of teamwork in Weslaco ISD has been very, very strong. We're always getting user end feedback, and there's representatives that have served in multiple committees for us as we move forward defining what teaching and learning looks like in 2020, 2021 with the pandemic continuing into the new year. So from our Teachers of the Year to the Teaching and Learning Continuum Research and Design Committees, to our campus principals, our C&I leadership, to our SIFs, our parent surveys, our teacher feedback and surveys, our Aspiring Campus Administrator Academy, the feedback there, and there's a lot more. Our District Advisory Committee, every time we've needed them throughout the summer, they have been there. So just, you know, many, many thanks to the spirit of teamwork that exists in Weslaco ISD. Oh, am I not in present mode? Oh no, how do I go back to present mode? Hey, Carlos just informed me my presentation went off, so.
It was on for me.
Was it on for you?
Uh-huh.
Because it was on for me too.
Yeah,
Oh.
put it back. It's there.
Okay, so he's meaning full screen. Thank you, Carlos.
Okay.
So when we came back to work in May, we had a summer safe start plan. And we had a presentation that was created by Dr. Garcia, Mr. De La Rosa, Ms. Kaufman, Susan Kaufman. This was a presentation. How do we keep ourselves safe when we're in a pandemic? And more specifically, when we're experiencing COVID-19, which has really been different from a lot of pandemics that we've experienced in the past. Well, basically, it's been the only worldwide pandemic in our lifetime. So these trainings cover things from social distancing to self-screening to prevention to cleaning and disinfecting. And it was trainings that we all went through when we came back in May. We also had attestation forms that not only did we see the training, we were committed to practicing the guidelines that had been provided by the CDC and the Texas Education Agency, and that we would also check for our COVID-19 symptoms, the checklist. This year, when we start the school year, there is another presentation. It's a Safe Start plan for students and staff. And you can see the contents. I'm not going to read all of it, but it's everything from arrival and dismissal protocols to screening and isolation to face coverings and campus visitors to our disinfecting and sanitizing expectations. What do we do with positive cases? All the way to extracurriculars. And this is also narrated. At the end of this training, we are signing again attestation forms. So all staff returning for the school year, this is one of the first things they do when they report to work, and we sign off on the attestation forms. And the attestation form does not ask staff to identify symptoms, only to self-screen. Are you experiencing any of these symptoms that are that may be related to COVID-19? I want to add right here too, Mr. De La Rosa and Mr. Martinez and team have worked on building in the self-screen into the time clock. And for those employees that don't use a time clock, we have another method that we'll be using for that. And that's really important. So when I come to work and I sign in for my hours, you know, my start time and my end time, as soon as I sign in, the self-screen is going to come up. I am, including me, you're going to have to say, do I have any of the symptoms, and self-report. So that's an important measure that we have into place as people report to work. One of the things—
Canales, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Will you go back to the prior screen? That one.
Okay.
One of the areas that probably we need to emphasize more than a lot is let the staff be aware of the positive cases on campus. That way they're aware of what needs to be done, what protocols they have to follow. I think that's very important out of all the ones you have there.
Okay, just informing staff and making sure they understand what the protocols that we follow. Mr. Nieto, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question? Real
Yes.
quick. It's a real simple one. Dr. Canales, I know that we will still, our cafeteria will still be making food and people will be picking it up and all that. And I know that we pre-buy a bunch of our supplies and our food, or prepay, whatever you want to say. Now, are we going to, will there be waste if we're not using it? Will we have to pay? Will we be losing money? Or is that all adjustable to where if we're not using it, to where we're not gonna need to discard?
Right, Mr. Lopez, we do have Mrs. Pena on as part of this meeting, and we are going to present some information about food services in a few minutes. And just today, we were having that conversations about starting on August 31st and starting small and watching what's going on. And by small, I mean with minimum of 10 areas, 10 locations, campuses where food can be picked up. And then taking a look at all that and then adjusting and expanding to more campuses as needed, and are cutting back. Because it's one of the things that our director of food nutrition services, Mrs. Pena, brought up. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then she is also available to answer the questions. Her and her team, as we all know, did a tremendous job. I mean, they continued working day in and day out, even when we went into the emergency closure in the spring, to make sure that our families and our students, our students and our families, our students were fed. And it's the same spirit, and that her and her team are moving forward with that first day on August 31st. So
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
just made sure that point had been thought of and brought up, and we didn't have a discarding food in the near future.
Okay, and Mrs. Pena, when we present that section, and we can add the details to that.
Okay.
A good question. So another point that we wanted to hit is just enrollment. We do have the enrollment, the registration began last Monday. As of this afternoon, we had 14,107 parents. So thank you to our parents. Many of our staff members are parents with students in our district, and many are not. So just thank you to our parents for see on this slide. We did ask them for their learning preference in terms of location. We had about 3,700 that said the learning preference was a hybrid learning that we're still working out. Right now for the Texas Education Agency, for one form of hybrid learning, it's only for 9th through 12th grade or high school. But there is a hybrid within a remote between synchronous and asynchronous learning as well. In terms of online only, remote learning, learning from home, 9,200 of our parents have selected that one. And for school only, in other words, on-campus only instruction, 1,173. We also, as part of the registration, we wanted to go ahead and ask again, do you have internet at home? Which is really important for learning, because our Texas Education Agency and our district, to fulfill our goals and our vision and our mission, we know that we need to have remote learning resemble as much as possible on-campus learning, with schedules, with teachers leading direct instruction, facilitating learning. So it's important that we surveyed our parents. Do you have internet at home? And does your child need a device? And you can see of the 14,107, there's 1,085 who have said we have no internet at home. Some of those could be multiple students. And there's 9,847 that says we will need a device. So that's a little bit about enrollment. We're trying to get everybody enrolled by Friday. So if you can help us get the message out, we're doing a good job. Our principals, K-West, all of us, of just sending out reminders, register. Whenever I talk to somebody, it's like, have you registered? So we need to know these numbers is important as we finalize our budget as well. So we did roll out a new online process. It takes about 10 minutes, and that we've received some positive feedback from some of our parents on. So I don't have any questions about enrollment, but we're here to answer it.
Dr. Canales, just to clarify, for those parents that might be listening, whatever, the online learning option is going to be available for those who want to stay online for the entire year, correct?
Yes, Dr. Rodriguez, that's the way the TEA has presented it to the state.
Okay, just want to make sure parents understand that even if once we offer face-to-face instruction, parents can opt to continue to stay with the virtual environment if they decide to do so, correct?
Right. Yes, sir. The latest guidelines from TEA says when we're ready to open up face-to-face, that as a parent, you get to choose. Do you want to continue with remote or do you want on campus? You get to choose. And the TEA has also said that for districts, recommended that we keep it to you choose for the 6 weeks period. So, TEA sometimes puts out new guidelines. That has been the up-to-date guidelines as of today.
How will that work with our upper level classes where, for example, the class is also a UIL activity like sports or band or cheerleading, something like that? How will that affect that kind of class?
Well, the last from TEA, and Mrs. Peterson, you can chime in. She listens to Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Aguilar join me with the TEA meetings. The last that TEA had said is that you could allow, even if I decide to be remote, we could allow the students to come in at the end of the day for practices once that gets started. So that's the latest from TEA. So they would get to come in after school for the practices.
Okay, thank you.
One question, Dr. Canales, and that was a good point from Dr. Jaime. Also, we are going to have enough devices for each individual student, correct?
Yes, Board of Trustees. We've spent over the last 4 or 5 years about $4.7 million on technology, upgrading technology. We're one-to-one with Chromebooks. So we do have the devices, and Board of Trustees, during the special called board meeting last Monday, you approved extra hotspots. I'd like to report too, and it's a slide in a few minutes, that on last week, Mr. Martinez, Mr. George Lopez, and Miss Mary Moreno went out and tested the hotspots in some of the areas of the district that we know have connectivity problems, and reported that the hotspots do work in the neighborhood. So it looks like we're going to be ready to go 100% with providing devices as needed and providing hotspots as needed. So we're really excited about that, as excited as you can be without seeing our kids in classrooms.
Thank you, Dr. Canales. Continue.
So that was this slide. So thank you again to Mr. Lopez and Ms. Moreno and Mr. Martinez. They went out on August the 6th, and there's 100% connectivity with the hotspots.
Okay.
We also surveyed our teachers, and these are the responses from our teachers. We had a total of 872 teachers, and we have about 1,100 teachers in the school district. We asked the question about teacher choice, discretion on campus and remote, and you can see there was 410 respondents who that was their preference, 51 teachers who want to work on campus, and 411 who wanted to work remotely. So that was a quick survey within 24 hours. So we thank our teachers. We give them 24 hours, and we did have a good response rate. We did also talk to our principals and just principal feedback on campus and remote. All of us know nothing replaces the face-to-face instruction. The teachers engaging our students and motivating our students, with their wonderful lessons when it's face-to-face. The reality is, with the pandemic right now, there is choice for our parents. So our principal feedbacks were pretty much even. There's a lot of benefits for having teachers on campus, and there's a lot of benefits for having teachers remote. So our principals were pretty much even between their preference for on-campus and remote. I don't know why that T's there. It is important to note, Board of Trustees, that this is different than the spring. In the spring, there's been descriptors that say it was emergency teaching and learning. Everybody go home, do your best. TEA has had a lot of planning. If you go to their website, you're going to notice document after document after document of planning for the 2020-2021 school year. TEA has provided guidelines for school districts. Board of Trustees, we have to, because we're starting remote. You have to, I have to, everybody in the district has to attest that we are going to have a plan. We have to submit a plan to the Texas Education Agency. We all have to, you have to approve, Board of Trustees. I have to also attest that that plan will be implemented with fidelity. TEA is going to rate the plan. They're going to, and they could tell us you need to revise it. But in the plan, we're going to have our daily schedules for students and teachers. We're going to have our remote expectations for students and teachers. TA will decide, Weslaco ISD, is your plan good enough for TA, or do you have to revise it? We're also, it's our understanding that TA is going to continue with assessments at the end of the year, STAR EOCs and STAR exams. And one of the reasons they're likely doing that is they're expecting things to be different in the fall than they were in the spring. We've had time to plan. You know, we talked about the wonderful teamwork through the summer, about the district advisory committee giving us feedback. You know, we've had time to plan for a strong remote, instructional plan that leads to high levels of student learning. So it's very likely that TA is not going to let go of the STAR exams. That's part of the evidence of the impact that our remote learning daily schedules have made on students and on student performance. So all these things are about transparency and specificity. Here is just an example of what we have to attest to, Board of Trustees, you, me, and the rest of us, about what needs to be done for the asynchronous plan. And basically, there it is from TA, the instructional schedule, the material design, what we use to teach the curriculum, how we measure student progress, that students are learning in a remote world, and that we're implementing with fidelity, that what we submit, we do. So TA does have a rubric that they're going to use, just like our students submit their writing STAR essays for TA, for them to be scored. Our plan is going to be scored using a rubric that TA has developed. They'll send it back to us for revisions, and they're expecting monitoring and implementation with fidelity. Again, keywords are transparency and specificity. And this is what the rubric looks like. I'm not gonna, read it to you, but it goes from a 0 points, in other words, go try all over again, Weslaco ISD, to 2 points. So this is part of the rubrics that they will be using to rate not only our plans, but plans of school districts all over the state for asynchronous. So I'll stop there to see if you have any questions, and I do have staff that can help with answering. Mr. Aguilar and Mrs. Peterson and our principals and our SIFs have been, and our strategists and our Teaching and Learning Design Continuum Committee have been working on the plan.
I have a question on the on staff. You had a survey for parents and for teachers. Was there a survey for non-teaching staff, counselors, librarians, office people?
No, Dr. Rivera, there has not been a survey we sent out the survey for the teacher last week. We have not surveyed non-teaching staff.
I think it's a good idea to see how they feel. Because you have counselors, you have teachers, you have custodians, you have maintenance, just to get a feel to see what they want. Either to work from home or to go ahead and work at site.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we've been talking about, Dr. Rivera, is the remote work and the positions and the job responsibilities and what can be done from home. If the expectation, what can be done from home versus what needs to be done at the site. We know, and we've had this conversation at the cabinet with our principals, there's some positions where I wish that we could offer the opportunity to work remote. But there's some positions.
Just get a survey and find out.
Okay.
You have counselors, some of them can work from home. Can they work from home? Can they work from school? Just get input. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, Dr. Retta, thank you.
When you get that survey, Dr. Canales, could you please include a place for comments for our staff, not just this or that? I mean, they might have some comments that could be very valuable in us moving forward.
I believe Mr. Lopez, yes, we can do that. And I believe we did have the comments for the teachers, and we can do that. There was just an open box for comments.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so this was the instructional plan. Okay. The other thing, Board of Trustees, we are providing supplies. Our elementary principals met with Mr. Pena from the warehouse. Mr. Aguilar facilitated the meeting. Ms. Garcia Erica from parent perspective was also at the meeting, talked about, well, what kind of supplies are we providing to the elementary students? So here's a list. For pre-K to kinder, you can see the list. The only thing that's questionable is a Play-Doh. I don't think we had the clay for the students, but everything else from jumbo pencils to jumbo crayons to scissors to glue sticks to dry erase markers we'll be providing for pre-K and K. 1st to 5th grade, we're talking about pencils, crayons, scissors, folder with pockets, loose leaf, dry erase markers, and more. For middle school and high school, we'll be providing things as needed. We're asking parents from middle school and high school to contact their campuses if they need supplies. So that covers the basic elementary supply list. This information will be sent out. We did send information through our social media accounts about us providing supplies for elementary. So this includes a list of supplies that we'll be providing. The plan is when parents come and pick up their devices and or their hotspots, we have the supplies ready also to provide them at that same time so they don't have to come back to the campus. We're really trying hard on that. If we can just synchronize when we get the technology equipment in with the hotspots that we ordered. Remember, we ordered some headphones with the microphones and the mice for the younger students, middle school and elementary. So it just depends when we get this, but we're really going to try to synchronize it to make sure it's that you can come and get everything that you need at the elementary level.
Once they pick that up, will it be for the whole year, or there'll be a second round of supplies for the second semester?
Right now, we're hoping that well, right now it's probably for the first semester of school. There may or may not. I'm not too, Mr. Aguilar, I'm not too sure how long some of these things will last with the pre-K and kinder.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, Dr. Canales. Good question. Mr. Kennedy, just to give you some information on that, we did discuss that with the principals and we gathered some feedback. We're going to monitor it as we go because it's going to depend on a lot of the activities that are planned through our asynchronous and synchronous learning. So as we're monitoring that progress, then we'll go back with our principals to see if we need to go ahead and continue another distribution list. Another distribution process for our students.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar.
You're welcome.
Talking about kids being in school with supplies, is there a plan already in place that if you start school person to person and someone gets sick that tests positive, is there a plan what you will do at that school?
Yeah, Dr. Rivera, yes, there is some guidelines from Texas Education Agency and the CDC that's being put together in part of a plan. So if and when we do come back and we do have a positive case about what we would do on that. I don't have those notes in front of me. I do have staff that could probably give some more details. We're still, like I said, trying to finalize that, and we know that we'll have to make that part of what we'll have to make that very public and transparent about here's the way we're going to deal with that when it happens. We do know that schools have opened up across the country, and within the first few days they have positive cases and they have to send people home and isolate. But TA has put out the guidelines again. And so if you'd like more information now, I can get staff to share that.
No, just on the update.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, employee dress was a question, one of the questions at the last meeting. You addressed this in board policy DH local, which just says an employee's dress and grooming shall be clean, neat, and a manner appropriate for his or her assignment and in accordance with additional standards established by his or her supervisor. just like our students, we're saying, you know, school appropriate, workplace appropriate. So that's what the follow-up on employee dress. So workplace appropriate, whether you're remote or whether you're on campus. For this slide, I'm going to turn it over to Oscar Riojas.
Before we go there, I have one question on staff. If they're working from home, we have to be careful that our policy states that if they're working from home, that they cannot work on a second job until after school hours are done.
Correct.
Correct. Good point, Dr. Rivera.
Okay, continue, Dr. Canales.
Okay, so the next one is the safety, sanitation, and transportation. So I'm gonna have Mr. Riojas and Mr. De La Rosa present on this one.
Thank you, Dr. Canales. Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Nieto, and members of the board. So I'll start with the first bullet, plexiglass shields. We have started the process of providing plexiglass shields for all our nurses district-wide. As you know, there'll be in the event when we do have some children in school. And then, of course, for our diagnosticians, we're also we're looking at district-wide at all high traffic areas, reception areas, for example, at front offices, with that we will also be retrofitting with some plexiglass. For example, we still need to visit B. Garza, Weslaco High School, you know, front counter where Ms. Hope sits, big area that we need to retrofit, and so we're in the process of doing that. We did receive a large order of plexiglass that we have in stock already, so we will be doing that here in the next couple of days, sir, or Dr. Canales. Hand washing stations at the entrances of all campuses, those are in progress as well. We do have 2 that have been installed already as mock units. They're at Silva and Gonzalez Elementary. They're foot pedal driven, and so we will have approximately 3 to 4 at each campus. We're going to address the campuses first. Obviously, we also have to worry about athletic events, athletic venues such as gymnasiums, the stadium. All are required to have hand washing stations as well. We know that we will have some form of athletics probably latter part of September, and so we're going to be prepared for that as well. Sanitizing stations at the entrance of all campuses, as well as classrooms. Those are all part of CDC guidelines. Every single classroom will have a sanitizing station inside the classroom, retrofitted with a foam and antimicrobial spray, as well, and some napkins or some towelettes to clean up areas that are of high use. Want to provide all our custodial department with proper PPE. Visiting with Mr. De La Rosa on that as well. It's important that we provide gloves, face shields, face masks for our staff that are at the helm. They're in the front lines, you know, combating this coronavirus. So we want to make sure that we have our staff well equipped with some of those items as well. We are visiting with staff as we speak. All staff are back from vacation by now, and we are starting our training on routine cleaning and disinfecting of facilities by our staff. We will have cleaning trainings on properly how to clean and sanitize. Total different ballgame whether you're cleaning or sanitizing, and so we want to make sure that our staff receive the proper training on how to properly, you know, wipe down high traffic areas like doorknobs, phones, desks, where our kids or staff are going to be having a lot of contact. So those trainings are scheduled for August 19th. We will have a trainer to come visit us here in Weslaco ISD that has the certifications for such trainings. And so every single one of our custodians will be going through that training, and that is both in Spanish and English, and they will be doing it live in person in small groups of 5 to 8, 6 feet apart, wearing masks. I just felt that it was important that they see it, you know, firsthand on what are some of the proper cleaning techniques that we want to use. And the last bullet that I have is just a book, what we call a buck-eyed 3-step door-to-floor levels of protection. It's kind of the overall what we're trying to do with our sanitizing program. This year we took a very aggressive route, and we installed a antimicrobial floor finish on all our schools. And so basically what that means is that we're not allowing anything to grow on our floors. And so that's why it's called door floor. So from everything you touch with your hands, even if you sit on the floor, we're trying our very hardest and our very best to keep it from growing any mold, any bacteria, influenza, you name it. And one of the things that I will note is we purchased this product before March, before we even knew this was going to happen. We purchased it really to combat flu season. I was visiting with Mr. Abel Aguilar, and he was telling me about some elementary schools that were experiencing some high amounts of absences because of the flu. And so we took that proactive approach and we purchased this product. And lo and behold, it is anti-COVID-19 as well. Had we tried to purchase it in March or April, we would not have it here by now. So every single floor in our schools and department has been coated with this antimicrobial floor finish. Dr. Canales.
Dr. Canales, question. Are shields going to be provided also for teachers and other staff members once students come back face to face?
Yes, Mr. Ross was sharing with us this morning at cabinet that the plexiglass, being that it's in high demand, it's hard to find. We're lucky that we did order some prior to this, and they are preparing of some. Coach, Mr. Riojas, do you want to add?
Yes, so we have a good amount of plexiglass in stock right now, and of course we are preparing to place another order. And so right now we're going to target, like I said, Weslaco High School is a big area. We're going to have use quite a bit of it there. B Garza is quite a big area. I believe we have an elementary campus as well that we're still working on. And of course the nurses and diagnosticians. And we're going to create as many plexiglass shields as we can based on the material that we have. And then we will definitely distribute it out according to or based on need and demand and based on what materials we have, Mr. Nieto.
Okay. Dr. Canales, we received PPE from the state, the mask and the sanitizer and the face shield.
Yes, Mr. Sanchez or Mr. Peña, we do have noticed that we do have the face shields. I believe they're already at the warehouse.
Yes, we have received our allotment from TEA. We're meeting tomorrow, and we're going to go ahead and start to distribute it equally among the campuses.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, the other administration building and other buildings as well. So,
will maintenance and transportation get PPE?
Yes, we already have PPE for our transportation department and for maintenance that we ordered before everything started.
Mm-hmm.
Consisting of face shields and masks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have we had it out, or are we still in the process of that?
Well, will they be distributed equally or according to the employees on site?
Equitably.
According to the number of staff in the facility, Mr. Lopez.
Okay.
Yeah, equitably.
Dr. Jaime had a comment.
Coach Rojas, what's your timeline on these washing stations and these plexiglass stations? I know teachers, and staff, they want to hear, what we're doing and what's the timeline on that? Is it something that's already started?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So that's a good question, sir. We have been working to find the availability of these washing stations. We wanted to find a washing station that is going to be, touchless, and then one that's available, and then one that's not going to require us to dump. Some of them are more manual, where you have to fill in the water, dump out the water at the end of the day. These are going to actually be tapping into our plumbing and what's it called, sewage system. And so they're going to be limitless. They're going to be so much better. They're stainless steel. We have an order coming in by the end of the week that will be here already. We have 15 of them in stock right now that we're getting ready to install. We're starting the install. We started today getting our materials together. We're hoping that by the end of the week, we'll have majority of those 15 installed. And we're targeting the campuses first, of course. The 30 that will arrive by the end of the week, we will start the install immediately as well to get our numbers where we need to be for all the campuses where they need to be. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Coach Rojas and the medical, I think you're talking about plexiglass right now. My question is more in regards to air conditioning and the ultraviolet blue lights that are now being installed on air handlers to kill or fight the viruses and bacteria and all that. Have we looked into that? Are we doing any of that? And have we, if not, are we going to?
I know, Mr. Lopez, I don't know if Americo is on right now, but I know that any of the new units that we're installing are retrofitted with the UV rays, sir. For example, the natatorium is one that, of course, it has it throughout the water system. But any of the new units that we're installing as we speak throughout the last couple of years are built in with that system.
Can you give us an update on what units are, what schools have it, what schools don't? Really, as far as units have it, we want to make sure that if it's something that we need to get, I know that I had some installed in my mother's house and I had some installed at our offices, and we need to make sure that if it's something that is something that we can get, we need to do it.
Yes, sir. There is some. You're absolutely right. So there is some research that we have found of some schools or some systems that are applying some of that science to their units. And I did share it with Americo a couple of weeks ago. So I'll follow up with him, sir, to see where we are with it. But I know at the time that we did discuss it, he did mention to me that any of the new units that we're installing are already retrofitted with that. But I will follow up, sir, and I will get that information to you, sir.
Okay, and the update, please.
Yes, sir. We sure will.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on, as part of the COVID-19, counselors and social workers are also just looking at, all of us are, social emotional learning, the curriculum. They've been talking about that. If you've kept up with this pandemic, it's taking a toll, not only on children, but grown-ups as well. So our counselors are preparing wonderful lessons via Zoom, Google Classroom. They're going to be meeting with students, providing the individual and group counseling sessions virtually, monitoring student progress, motivating students, providing mental health support, connecting students and parents to outside providers and services that may be needed. Crisis intervention will continue. And again, the resources for families and students in need. So that's a little bit about just peace, known, valued, and inspired. How do we keep everybody feeling I'm connected in a world where a lot of what especially our children are doing and where they're going to start is remote. So we believe in the complete education and the whole child, and this is part of what Mrs. Brewer and her wonderful team have been working on. And she is available if you have any questions.
Any questions from any of the board members? Nope. Go ahead, Dr. Canales.
Okay, as part of our last meeting, Board of Trustees, you were a source of inspiration like you always are. You were like, how can we create the best parent as partners engagement? Best parental involvement. Well, we do have certain requirements in the Title I Part A. We are planning virtual parent district and campus meetings. Mrs. Garcia, working with others at Cabinet and other directors, is coming up with informational videos that we'll be shooting that talks about how do you prepare your home for online learning, success in online learning. What happens with homework help? How is food service gonna continue to operate during those four weeks? So we're going to be creating short informational videos. We started the first one. It was Ms. Lopez, Dr. Lopez, and Mr. Trevino on just what is remote learning, what is asynchronous versus synchronous. So we'll continue that series and have it available for our parents. We are offering virtual continuing education classes for our parents for ESL and to get their GED. We do have strong partnerships with many organizations that are helping to provide clothing, backpacks, bags, food. And we do have an online FAQ that we will have for our parents to reach. So Mrs. Garcia is available if you have any questions or ideas.
I have a comment.
Yes, Mr.
It
Lopez.
might not be, well, I mean, it's parents, it's partners and engagement, and it relates to home and our students. Is there any, well, do we have any kind of desks that our students, I mean, we're letting them computers and they're taking home computers, taking home all kinds of devices that we can say, you know what, students, we have some desks with the warehouse that, I mean, some of these kids are not going to have a place to sit down and do their homework and you know, have a little corner to where they can do work by themselves and study. Do we have any of those items available where we can allow our students to not out of the warehouse, take something from the warehouse and use it for their studying area?
Good afternoon, Dr. Canales, Mr. Nieto, and members of the board. I will call warehouse and see if that's something that's even possible, but I will definitely look into it. Thank you for that comment.
Okay.
That's Ms. Garcia. She leads our parental involvement.
And you know what? That's a lot of good topics for parents and for parents especially. It's important that parents have that information so they can help their students, and of course, so they can help themselves too. So good information there.
Okay, and then continuing with COVID-19, food and nutrition services, offsite or during remote learning, the meal service. Still planning to move forward with prepackaged meal to be available at designated school sites throughout the district for students and parents to pick up. In conversations with Mrs. Peña, it's starting with at least 10 sites and then expanding as needed throughout the district. We do know our food and nutrition services, Mrs. Peña and her team have standard operating procedures that are required to do that. So we do have written policies and procedures that have been developed and implemented. They were successfully implemented in the spring when we had the emergency school closure, and they will continue. So our cafeteria managers and our staff will comply with all program requirements, and they will also be trained in the SOP procedures, including any modifications, because the teams, you know, what did we learn from the spring? What do we need to change in our procedures? Those changes have been made. So they are continuing to review the SOP to include any additional new changes. I think there's one more for this. Food service is important, and we know that our families need to know, just like in the spring, you know, where is it that we go for our meals once the school year starts on August the 31st. It's going to be shared. The information will be shared with families regularly through our website, social media, and we know phone messenger. I had a parent even reach out to me and just say, not all of us are on social media, not all of us have the district website. Please also use a phone when you're communicating important information. So we're committed to doing that. And like I said, we're going to start off the year meal site locations and the time of service. We're still finalizing those 10 that we're thinking of starting off with on August 31st, and we will announce it to the parents when available. And we're targeting having that information out by August the 20th to our parents. So Mrs. Peña is available if you have any questions about food services during the remote time.
The only question I have, Dr. Canales, is do parents have to take their students, so that we're going to use the same process we did in the spring, where they have the form that includes the names of the students that attend that whatever campus, how many students each parent has?
And Mrs. Peña, are you available?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, Mr. Nieto, the parents will have to take a letter with either some type of an ID or a barcode that will be provided for them, and hopefully our kitchen clerks will be able to just scan the barcode and account for that meal. And that's going to be very important because during the summer, we basically just use tally sheets and count meals. But with the National School Lunch Program, we don't have that flexibility. Every meal we serve has to be tracked back to the student and to the acclaimed at the school where the child is enrolled. So that's a difficult task, but we're working on the process to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nieto, and that was the last slide for the COVID-19 update. We did have the parents, the JET grant, and the optional flexible school day program next. So for the insurance, we have Mr. Del Rosa.
Good evening, President Yato, Dr. Canales, members of the board. This is the standard insurance slide that we show every month representing claims running through July 31st, 2020. Medical claims last year at this time were at $10.5 million versus this year we're at $7.7 million. That's a decrease of $2.7 million. Prescription drugs last year at this time or through July 31st were at $4.2 million versus now we're at $5.2 million. That's a $948,000 increase over last year. Fixed costs last year were at $2.8 million versus this year we're at 2.3. That's a decrease of approximately $423,000. So overall for the year, last year at this time we're at $17.5 million versus this year at 15.2. That's a difference of $2.2 million or a 15% decrease overall over last year. That is net of about $1.5 million that we received in reimbursements from the Blue Cross Blue Shield stop loss. Any questions on that before we move on?
Dr. Rivera, any questions on the funded employee
Well,
health?
$2 million, that's a good savings, good job.
Correct. When is the end of the claims, Mike?
Well, the end of the plan year is August 31st, and then there'll be 3 months of run out after that.
Okay. Okay.
So we're looking pretty good.
Good. Any other questions from any other board members or comments? All right, Dr. Canales, continue now with JET grant.
This is the workers' comp slide representing our self-funded workers' compensation slide. So last year at this time, we were at 96 claims. This year, we're at 60. We paid last year $187,000 versus this year $165,000 approximately. Outstanding reserves pending $110,000 last year versus $47,000 this year. So total incurred last year was $298,177.18 versus this year $212,438.76. So our work comp program is doing well also.
Good.
Okay. Okay. So for the next slide, if we're ready for that, we're just happy to announce that we did get the JET grant to the tune of $235,570, and this is for Weslaco CTE, and it's called the Jobs and Education for Texans grant. It will help the CTE Early College High School with the STC dual credit program. We have about 125 students that are in advanced manufacturing technology courses that lead to certificates and or associate's degrees in precision manufacturing technology and industry certifications in the National Institute of Metalworking Skills. So a big thank you to Ms. Avila and her team. It's another great grant that we've secured to get much needed equipment, 6 additional equipment items so that we continue the great programs that exist for our students at CTE Early College High School and beyond.
Good job to Mrs. Avila and her staff that worked on this grant, or whoever worked on the grant. Of course, it's in the best interest for our students. Good job, Mrs. Avila.
Thank you. It was a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Avila.
Continue, Dr. Canales.
Okay, and then we also have the optional flexible school day program for the trustees. This program started back in 2010, 2011. On November 12, 2018, Board of Trustees, you approved to extend this program to all Weslaco ISD campuses and during the summer school programs. And TA approved the amended program, and we expanded the program to include elementary and middle schools for the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year. And then we have had over 1,150 students participate in the program during the 2019-2020 school year, which Board of Trustees, you approved for us to participate on July 29, 2019. We do have Dr. Cantu available to just present a few more of the highlights of the program. So it's intended, Dr. Cantu, are you available?
Yes, Dr. Canales, I'm here.
Okay, Dr. Cantu, if you continue, the intent is for the program for students who dropped out of school and
would be a denied credit because of poor attendance, that 90-10 rule. We do have, if we go to the next slide, program goals include improving graduation rates, promotion rates, and especially attendance rates. And with the optional flexible day program, we do have an alternate method of attendance counting. Instead of counting attendance at 10:15 for an official attendance time, we end up counting minutes of actual instruction. And students that are enrolled in this flex program are, they do qualify for UIL if they meet the UIL eligibility criteria. And the process is that we go over information, we discuss it at a board meeting, and then we'll get your approval as a board to apply to TA to continue the program for the following year. This year's application, we are going to be requesting 400 slots for high school. Per high school, middle schools will be getting about 200 slots, and elementary schools will be getting 75 slots. That's an increase from last year. We did have great gains from last year, and we want to continue with that. This year's participation, as was mentioned in the previous slide, was almost, well, it was 1,100 students, 800 of which were at high school, 159 middle school, and 224 elementary school students. So we did have quite a bit of participation. That represents roughly 700 additional ADA. We did have students graduating that had flex minutes. We had 83 students graduating from Weslaco High School that were OFSDP students at sometime during the year, 91 from Weslaco East. South Home Gardens had 52, and CTE Early College High School had 1 student that had a flex minute sometime during the year. That's 227 graduates.
Any comments from the board members?
I have a comment.
Okay, Mr. Lopez.
You know, Dr. Canales, Raul Cantu, Dr. Cantu, as the hardships of COVID continue, our students, some of them will be forced by necessity to start working, to provide, to become adults before they're ready, you know, and be breadwinners to a family. And therefore, what I'm trying to tell you is that we need to be ready for increasing numbers in these programs, and be ready to offer more assistance, more help, more guidance for our students, because it's not getting any easier. I mean, it's getting tougher out here, and our students will bear the brunt by just by being young, you know, and they're going to want to help the family, and because that's, you know, we're in South Texas, we're majority Hispanic, and we step up to the plate as sons and daughters. So,
the beauty of this program is it does allow for flexible attendance. The state has done a great job with allowing asynchronous attendance taking, asynchronous instruction. When the state takes that away, or they say, okay, this emergency has already passed, we're now bringing everybody back, this program will allow us to continue that flexibility. So I'm excited being able to offer those students that you're talking about, Mr. Lopez, that opportunity to continue with their education.
Dr. Cantu, Canales, just if there's anything that we can do, and please be on you know, eyes and ears, and watch our students, because they will need help, and some of us are too proud to ask for help. So let's make sure that we get that help out to our kids.
Yes, sir.
I have one question. Dr. Canales. I saw on the update that it's available Monday through Friday as needed, or last year you used mostly Monday to Thursday and Saturdays, or which ones did you use last year?
Dr. would you like to respond to that?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Nieto, that was left to the campuses, different campuses and their needs, and they were able to adjust their days when they could offer that after-school program, the Saturday school. A lot of times what works for one campus, you know very well, might not work for a different campus just because of the different population that they're serving or the different circumstances that they're working. So all of those parameters are taken into account, and it is part of a campus decision on how they want to implement, what extra time they want to offer those students.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Canales, go ahead.
And Board of Trustees, and that concludes the superintendent's report. I know it's been long, but very, very proud of the team who continues to work and refine as we figure out a new way for teaching and learning for students and for all of us, all our staff and all our parents, just our entire community. So thank you so much for your questions, and we will be moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Canales, for the presentation, and of course, the presentation of your fellow members. A lot of good information. Well, let's continue now with the consent agenda. Board members, look at the, I'll give you a minute or two to look at the consent agenda, and then I'll ask for your motion. I'll start with Mr. Kennedy. Any items you need to pull, Mr. Kennedy?
No, sir.
Okay. Dr. Jaime Rodriguez?
No, sir, I have none.
Mr. Andrew Gonzalez?
No, sir, I have none.
Dr. Richard Rivera?
I have none.
All right. Mr. Erasmo Lopez?
I have none to pull.
And Coach Cuellar?
I have none.
I have one to pull just for information purposes, which is D. Okay, so let's have a motion to approve the consent agenda except for D.
I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item D.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Mr. Gonzalez to approve the consent agenda except for item D. Any discussion? All right, I'll take a vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
Aye.
And Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, I pulled item D just for information. As I was looking at the data for the library services, it says number of students 17,164, and we're when Andres presented at 15,000, approximately 200. Is that gonna make a difference there for this particular Region 1 library services?
I believe they use the enrollment numbers, the total number of students that are enrolled, not the ADA. Mr. Sanchez was presenting the ADA at 15,000, about 15,199.
Okay.
For ADA. Right now, currently, Mr. Nieto, we're at a little 14,100 in terms of what we know is going to be enrolled.
Correct.
So if the enrollment is lower, I would assume there's flexibility with the service center to drop the amount, because it is per student. It's $3.20 per student.
Correct. That's right.
With Region 1 on this types of matter. Mr. Sanchez, I don't know how flexible Region 1 has been, or
no, let me add something. It is based on the enrollment, but for the 1920 year. It's always a year behind.
okay. It's a year behind.
Yeah, that is
That's
why.
fine. Okay, that's fine. All right, so let me entertain a motion for item D.
I'll make a motion to approve item D in the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez and a second by Mr. Lopez to approve item D. All in favor, please say aye when I ask your name. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
Aye.
Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
And motion passes. Let's go now to item 9, discussion items. Item A, interim financial report for the 11 months ended July 31st, 2020. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, this is a no action item, and Mr. Sanchez will highlight some key points on the report.
Yes, Dr. Canales, Mr. Nieto, members of the board. For the 11 months ended July 31, 2020, in the general fund, out of a budget of $183,886,000, we have received $172,668,000. That represents 93.9%. We only got one more month to go on the revenues, of course. And on the expenditures, out of $191,174,000 budgeted, we have paid or encumbered $154,966,000. As of July 31, that is 81% of the budget.
Was very good, Andres. That means 81%. That means in 1 month, you're not going to spend $36 million. So you should have a good, healthy fund balance at the end of this year.
Well,
Yes, yes.
the 36 million, Dr. Rivera,
Yes.
I forget also too, Javier reminded me, it's not just the local maintenance fund, it's also the state fund, the state com, bilingual. Any money we don't spend on those, we got to move it over to the next year, so the money that we have available. And besides having the payroll for August is already included, the monthly payroll, but we have all the payroll for the teachers beginning this week. At the end of the year, we had to accrue. And while we have expenditures that we won't pay on the revenues, but now that we moved the calendar to August 31 on 8 for school, we're only going to have 1 day of school as opposed to 6. So the ADA is going to be short, about $3 million on revenues for ADA. So we're working on that. We're buying additional items right now. The long distance learning, we've been taking out of the budget. So I expect to have some budget, some surplus. I don't have a good figure to give because there's so many things going on at the last minute. But yes.
Regardless, you're going to have a good savings.
I'll keep you informed on
Yes.
I agree with Dr. Rivera there. Any other comments for any of the other board members? All right, let's continue on. Dr. Canales, acknowledgement of Hidalgo County Tax Office collection report for June 2020, current taxes and delinquent taxes. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, this is another no action item, and Mr. Sanchez will highlight some key points on this one as well.
Yes, through June 30, 2020, in the current tax levy, we have collected $22,828,000, and that represents 94.48% of the levy, with some adjustments. The prior year, we had collected 94.23 through June 20 as well. So we are at 0.25% higher than last year. And on the prior year taxes, the delinquent taxes, we have collected $669,000. That represents 17.5%. Last year at this time was 22.5%. So on that one, we are 5% less in collections compared to the prior year. The budget, as I mentioned before, is 92% for current levy. We collected 94, so we're already over through June 30. We still got 2 months to go, so hopefully we can get another 0.5% more, if not the 1%, through the end of the year. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Sanchez?
No, just times are hard right now on the delinquent. So you might have difficulties here collecting those taxes. Times are hard.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Andres.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's continue on with C, presentation of 2020 anticipated collection rate of property taxes for the fiscal year 2020-2021. Dr. Canales.
Another no action item, and Mr. Sanchez will highlight key points for this one as well. Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, on the anticipated collection rate, the tax assessor collector sent us the letter that they do every year, Mr. Villarreal, and the letter says something that we need to basically read to the board and a certification that they make. that they indicating that the estimated collection rate for the year 2020, which is the 2021 year, they're projecting at 100%. And also the 2019 estimated collection rate for last year, or the current year, was also 100%. Therefore, they do not have to report any excess debt tax collections that they need to report in a schedule that they prepare for the district. That was basically legal item that they have to do to certify it like that. But they're certifying 100% collection on the levy, basically. And that's it.
All right. Any comments, questions from fellow board members? All right, we'll continue right along. Let's go to item 10, discussion and possible action items. Item A, discussion and possible action to approve an order calling for the November 3rd, 2020 Weslaco ISD School Board election. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, we are recommending that you approve an order for the Weslaco Independent School District School Board election to be held on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, for the purpose of electing 3 members of the Board of Trustees for the Weslaco Independent School District. So this year we have 3 places up for election. We have place 1, office held currently by Mr. Erasmo Lopez. Place 2, held by Dr. Rich Rivera, and place 3, held by Patrick Kennedy. An agreement to approve the election services of the Hidalgo County to conduct our election will be brought to the board for approval at a future board meeting, as well as the interlocal agreement to share joint election expenses between the city of Weslaco and Weslaco ISD. The order has been reviewed and approved by our school attorney. I believe we had a change recently in this. I don't have that information with me.
That is correct, Dr. Canales.
Dr. Garcia, what can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I can. Good evening, board members. The major change was a proclamation from Governor Abbott extending the early voting. The previous dates for the voting were going to be October the 19th to the 30th, but the proclamation is going to add 6 more days, October the 17th to the 18th, in addition to the 19th to the 30th. Also, just a little bit more information next week. We're planning on having the ballot drawing. We're planning that. Of course, we have to find a suitable solution, location, so that we can ensure that we follow the social distancing guidelines. And of course, as Dr. Canales mentioned, we'll be bringing the contract, the county contract with you for the elections, along with the city agreement for the joint elections. Thank you.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez and a second by Dr. Jaime to approve the order calling for the November 3rd, 2020 WSD School Board election. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Nieto. I want to announce that I'm not going to seek re-election. I've been blessed in the district 53 years. I've been I started as a coach. In fact, I was your coach in the 7th grade.
Yes, sir.
And I was a Mary Hope principal, high school principal, 17 years, superintendent, 16 years, board member, 8 years, total 53. I've been blessed. Thank you to everyone who went into my life during those 53 years. So again, thank you, and I will not be seeking re-election. Thank you, guys.
You're not getting off that easy, Doctor. We're gonna call you when we need advice, because I mean, you breathe and your blood is cooled. This Weslaco ISD, so you're not getting off that easy. I'm gonna be calling you.
I'll be available.
Dr. Canales will be calling you too.
I have his number. I know where he lives now.
And Dr. Rivera, I appreciate everything you've done for Weslaco ISD. And later on, we'll talk a little bit more about what's the next step.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything you've done. Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Dr. Jaime, for to approve the calling for the November 3rd, 2020 WSD School Board election. Let's take a vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
A definite aye.
Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll continue on with B, discussion and possible action to approve the student code of conduct for the 2021 school year. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, we are recommending that you approve the student code of conduct for the 2020-2021 school year. Mrs. Peterson and a committee have reviewed it. We do use the TASB model student code of conduct as we have in previous years. So we will have a copy of the approved student conduct will be posted on the district's website and available for parents who may need it. We can provide hard copies. So we don't, Mrs. Peterson, do you want to highlight? It's basically more or less the same information from.
Yes, it was a non-legislative year, so there are no changes to this document.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve the student code of conduct.
I'll second.
Who was second?
Coach Cuellar.
Coach Cuellar. So we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Coach Cuellar to approve the student code of conduct for the 2020-21 school year. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
Aye.
Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll continue on with item C. Discussion of possible action to approve the Weslaco ISD student handbook for the 2020-21 school year. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, again, Mrs. Peterson and the team have worked on that, so thank you to them on this. The handbook describes the expectations for behavior and conduct in the Weslaco ISD community, the school community. It is based on the TASB model, and it's aligned to Weslaco ISD board policy. It's for all Weslaco ISD schools, and a copy of the handbook will be posted on the website. On page 54, it does address just the preference and recommendation for uniforms as a dress code for elementary, middle school students. However, that it will be waived for the 2020-2021 school year due to the pandemic and Hurricane Hannah and other factors that are impacting our families.
I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend you approve it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy.
Second.
We have a second by Dr. Jaime. To approve the or was it Mr. Gonzalez?
That was Andrew, yes.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez. To approve the WSD student handbook for the 2021 school year. Any other discussion? All right, I'll entertain the votes. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
Aye.
Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. We continue on with item D. Discussion and possible action to approve the optional flexible school day program for the 2021 school year. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, we are recommending that you approve this program. During the superintendent's report, you saw the impact that it made for our students. So we do seek your approval, and we do have Dr. Cantillo available if you have any additional questions about it.
Move to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Gonzalez and a second by Coach Cuellar.
Yes.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Coach Cuellar, to approve the optional flexible school day program for the 2021 school year. Any discussion? Nope. All right, we'll take it for a vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll continue on with item E. Discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval to allocate the 179D deduction for energy efficient projects for the roofing replacement projects at Airport Elementary, Beatriz Garza Middle School, North Bridge Elementary School, and Memorial Elementary School as permitted in section 179D of the Internal Revenue Code. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, since school districts cannot claim the EPA Act 179D deduction, the district has the discretion to pass the deduction to architects, engineers, contractors, and other professionals responsible for the design and construction of energy efficient projects in government-owned buildings. ERO Architects has submitted a request for the board to consider allocating this deduction to their firm as the architects designed the projects listed that you listed above. And it is allowed by the Internal Revenue Code for 179D energy efficient tax deductions. So staff, we are recommending that you approve the allocation of this tax deduction for energy efficient projects as it pertains to the roofing replacement projects at Airport Elementary School, B. Garza Middle School, Northbridge Elementary School, Memorial Elementary School, as permitted in section 179D of the Internal Revenue Code. So we're seeking your approval.
Who are we going to pass it on to? Which architect?
ERO Architects.
I'll move to approve the recommendation.
Have we done this in the past, Dr. Canales? I remember something like this as far as passing on the
Good question, Philip. We did pass on the savings for an energy efficient project conducted by, I believe it was PBK. Is that correct?
Yes, PBK for the athletic facility renovation at West Point High School.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy, a second by Mr. Lopez, to approve to allocate the 179D deduction for energy efficient projects for the roofing replacement projects at Airport Elementary, B. Garza Middle School, Northbridge Elementary, and Memorial Elementary, as permitted in section 179D of the Internal Revenue Code. Any discussion? Take it for a vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Dr. Rivera?
Aye.
Mr. Lopez?
Aye.
Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Then now we're going to go into closed meeting to discuss personal matters, employment of personnel, resignations, deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, Texas Government Code 551074 and 551071. B, deliberation regarding acquisition of real property. C, consultation with attorney regarding or pending contemplated litigation, a settlement offer, a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the Weslaco ISD under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Government Code 551.071. We will now go into executive session. It is 7:33. So you can log off and then we'll log back on to closed session. All right, it is 8:07 and we come in an open meeting. Possible action if necessary on items discussed in the closed meeting. Number 1, discussion of possible action on new employment. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, I'm recommending that you approve the recommendations of contracts for certified professional personnel as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
So we have a motion by Dr. Jaime and a second by Mr. Kennedy to approve new employment as discussed in executive session. Any discussion? Let's take a vote. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Was Dr. Rivera able to join us or not? Not yet. Okay. Mr. Lopez, let the record reflect that Mr. Lopez left the meeting at 7:50. Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
And myself, motion passes. Item number 2, discussion of possible action on resignations. Dr. Canales, or go ahead.
Board of Trustees, I'm recommending you approve the resignations, retirements of certified professional personnel as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
We have a motion by Dr. Jaime
Second.
and second by Mr. Gonzalez to approve the resignations as this agreed in executive session. All in favor, please say aye. Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Coach Cuellar?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, discussion of possible action on acquisition of real property. No action?
No action.
No action. All right, Good job, gentlemen. I think it was a quick meeting, even though there was a lot of presentations and a lot of things. Adjournment.
So moved.
All right, it is 8:12 and we adjourn this board meeting. Thank you for everything.
Stay safe.
Enjoy.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.